We've got one suspect driving the white vehicle eastbound from the north parking lot. We've got one suspect on foot. The suspect on foot is behind a long truck trailer rig.
999, hang in there. 9837 is almost there.
99, thank you. Thank you for talking.
SWAT is moving in. There's one suspect eastbound from the north side of the parking lot in the vehicle. The other one is on foot near the long trailer. SWAT is en route to 6600 Laurel Canyon across from Del Taco for the officer down.
9989, 9989, come in.
The suspects are moving eastbound near Archwood.
Down to only a 9mm handgun after a malfunction on his AK-47, Phillips emerged and walked east toward the officers and detectives at the corner of Archwood and Agnes. As he fired at them, the officers dove for cover. Wounded and now outgunned himself, Phillips chose to commit suicide. At the same time as Phillips shot himself, a round fired by an officer entered his neck and shoulder area and severed his spinal cord. Larry Eugene Phillips was dead. One suspect was in custody. One still outstanding.
Shots are being fired still. The officer is down at Archwood and Laurel Canyon. Everyone stand by. There's an armored car coming in full of police officers.
With the rescue team on the way, officers continued to get citizens out of the kill zone. Without regard for the location of the outstanding suspect, and with shots still ringing in the air, a detective, a SWAT officer, and 3 patrol officers used an armored truck driven by its civilian driver to pick up Officer Whitfield and the injured citizens at Archwood and Laurel Canyon.
So please broadcast the officers and rescue.
Out of the perimeter and a few streets east of the bank, Mataserano attempted to commandeer another car.
Be advised, the suspect in the white vehicle is at limp. He's out of the vehicle. He's shooting at civilians.
The suspect is out of the vehicle at limp, shooting at civilians.
Clearly injured from the officer's gunfire, Mataserano limped around the car to the driver's side. Farther back, officers followed him on foot while maintaining a safe distance.
The suspect is back in the white vehicle. He is now moving slowly eastbound between Limp and Beck.
Hey, that's going to be on Archwood between Radford and Hines. Between Radford and Hines.
The suspect is now on Archwood between Radford and Hines.
Once more, Mataserano tried to carjack a citizen's car. He fired through his own windshield at the driver of a 1961 Jeep pickup truck. The driver, injured and fearing for his life, ran away from Mataserano.
There's a...
It's like a horse in the air. It just took a citizen's vehicle. It looks like a brown truck. It's thinking on the westbound right now on Archwood.
The suspect took a citizen's vehicle in a brown truck westbound on Archwood.
SWAT officers Donnie Anderson, Steve Gomez, and Rick Massa, waved on by officers, approach what they think is an injured citizen in the Jeep truck. At the last moment, they realized it was actually the suspect.
Step fired. Step fired.
More shots are being fired. Shots are being fired.
On crossfire.
All units watch for crossfire.
That's where they go to the suspect. All units stay back.
Too close to the suspect. They need to back off.
Unit that is close to the suspect, back off per cycle 14.
That unit is a Metro unit, ma'am, and they're engaging the suspect. They're not able to back off.
An intense close-quarters gun battle ensued. Mataserano was pinned down by the automatic gunfire of the SWAT officers.
Be advised, the suspect is thrown out. He may be shooting underneath the vehicle towards officers.
The officer is thrown out and possibly shooting at the officers from under the vehicle on Archwood between Radford and Hines.
He shot at both the SWAT officers and at other officers west of him on the south side of the street. One individual officer fired his 9mm at any body part Mataserano left exposed. The diversion provided by the other officer's shooting allowed the SWAT trio to gain a better angle to stop the suspect. Finally, the momentum shifted. The police gained the upper hand with better weapons and superior tactics. Mataserano, weakened from numerous gunshot wounds, lost his will to fight. The SWAT officers moved from their proned-out positions and slowly made a tactical approach. Other officers who had followed on foot stayed back until the SWAT officers ensured it was safe to approach. The time was 9:59 a.m. 34 minutes after it began, the gun battle ended. Both suspects were in custody.
Okay, air eight to control. Be advised there are two suspects in custody. One is on Archwood and Axis, and one is on Archwood between Radford and Hines. Those two suspects are in custody. Metro has one in custody, and North Hollywood has another in custody.
The entire robbery and shootout lasted approximately 45 minutes. The two suspects fired over 1,100 rounds. 32 LAPD officers and detectives fired over 550 rounds. The suspects wounded 9 LAPD officers and 2 citizens. One black and white police car received 57 separate bullet holes. The kiosk, directly across the street from the bank and used for cover by officers, received over 150 bullet holes. After the suspects were taken into custody, SWAT officers cleared the area. During the next 12 hours, Metropolitan Division personnel, including canine units, conducted a search for additional suspects in a 1-square-mile residential area. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Special Enforcement Bureau assisted in the search. The FBI SWAT team was also available to assist. At approximately 11:30 p.m., the department terminated the search when there was no evidence of additional suspects. The bank robbery resulted in a multi-agency response involving personnel from many city, state, federal, and private agencies. The command post began on the trunk of a vehicle and soon moved to a furniture store equipped with tables and television sets. Later, the command post moved to the department mobile command post vehicles. The weapons recovered from the suspects included 3 fully automatic AK-47 rifles, 1 fully automatic .308 caliber HK-91 rifle, 1 fully automatic .223 caliber Bushmaster M15, and 1 semi-automatic 9mm Beretta pistol. A simple stovepipe malfunction disabled the AK-47 Phillips discarded at the tractor trailer. A round fired by an unknown officer disabled the HK-91 assault rifle used by the suspects. At the time officers took the suspects into custody, Phillips had approximately 400 rounds of ammunition in cylinder drums. Mataserano had approximately 240 rounds of ammunition in magazines and drums. Their vehicle contained an additional 2,000 rounds of ammunition. Officers recovered other items from the suspect's white Chevrolet Celebrity, including a police scanner, 2 nylon ammunition bags, including 6 30-round AK-47 magazines in each bag, 2 ski masks, and 1 web belt containing 4 drum magazines. Suspect Larry Eugene Phillips was 26 years old, 6 feet tall, and weighed 190 pounds. At the time of the robbery, he wore 43 pounds of custom-modified body armor covering his arms, legs, and torso. Phillips' clothing and body armor had been struck by numerous rounds fired by officers. He received over 9 wounds from officers' handguns, including a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the chin and a simultaneous fatal wound from an officer's bullet that traveled through his right shoulder and severed his spinal cord. Phillips had told his family that he would never be taken alive. He liked to watch such action movies as Heat and Speed. Phillips had taken phenobarbital, a relaxant, prior to the robbery. Suspect Emil Mataserano was 30 years old, 6 feet 2, and 275 pounds. At the time of the robbery, Mataserano wore side wraparound body armor on his torso with a front trauma plate, but no body armor on his arms or legs. Like his partner, he had also taken phenobarbital prior to the robbery. Mataserano received 29 bullet wounds from 9mm and .223 rounds. Officer Martin Whitfield, 29 years old, with 6.5 years on the department, received gunshot wounds to his leg, arm, and chest. He is still off duty, recovering from his injuries. Officer Stuart Guy, 31 years old, with 7 years on the department, received a gunshot wound to a leg and an arm. He is still off duty, recovering from his injuries. Officer James Zaworavan, 26 years old, with 8 months on the department, received a gunshot wound to the back. He has returned to work. Sergeant Dean Haynes, 41 years old, with 16 years on the department, received a gunshot wound to one shoulder and the legs. He has returned to work. Detective William Krulak, 49 years old, with 26 years on the department, received a gunshot wound to the right ankle. He has returned to work. Detective Tracy Angelus, 29 years old, with 6.5 years on the department, received a grazing wound to the stomach and buttocks. She has returned to work. Officer Conrado Torres, 36 years old, with 7 years on the department, received a grazing wound to the neck. He has returned to work. Detective Earl Valadares, 51 years old, with 26 years on the department, received a superficial wound to the head. He has returned to work. Officer John Goodman, 28 years old, with 6.5 years on the department, received lacerations to his face from broken glass and an injury to his knee. He has returned to work. On the United States Marine Corps Iwo Jima Memorial, there is an inscription describing the bravery and courage of the Marines who fought there. Uncommon valor was a common virtue. Many would agree this phrase describes the heroic actions of the officers of the Los Angeles Police Department that February morning in North Hollywood. Officer Lauren Farrell and his partner saw the suspects when they first entered the bank. Those officers were two of the many heroes on February 28th. A reporter asked Farrell if he had been given the chance, would he have gone the other way? Farrell gave a one-word answer: never.